Welcome to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast, where it's all about getting real around all things coaching.
And what we know for sure is that what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one's really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
Will you freaking get going already, for God's sakes?
All right, Karen, enough assertiveness.
Well, at least I'm not being aggressive yet.
I love it. So welcome everybody to this episode of the podcast. It is a brand new month and a brand new topic. And as you may have already picked up from what Karen was putting down, this is all about assertiveness. And it is one of the 15 subscales of the emotional intelligence EQI 2.0 assessment that Karen and I absolutely love. And for some of you who have been asking, we do have a new certification coming up on March 31st. Let me drop that quick link to that, and then we will dive into assertiveness. Go to www.kickstartyyouredge.com/EQI to learn about certification. On that note, Karen, kick us off.
Yeah, well, when you said you're going to drop that, I'm like, where are you dropping it? I'm like, we're not on Zoom. So, okay. Anyway, assertiveness. And here is the definition for assertiveness. Assertiveness relates to your ability to put your needs, thoughts, and opinions out into the world, even when doing so invites opposition or conflict or causes you to take a stand. I'm going to read it one more time because why, Jen? I usually read them twice. Assertiveness relates to your ability to put your needs, thoughts, and opinions out into the world, even when doing so invites opposition or conflict or causes you to take a stand.
Great. Good. I know it's such an interesting topic, right? Because what it does right in that description, it says why people may not want to be assertive, right? So as you said, even though it could create opposition, conflict, etc., that is why people tend to not be assertive. They don't want to invite that conversation, that perception, or the feelings that are affiliated with those things. And so often they'd rather keep their mouths shut.
Yeah, Jen, I think what this is really about, it's about that balance, right? So it's the, how do you stand up for who you are and what's important to you and not kind of knock somebody down or not make somebody else feel bad. And I think that that's where that fine line sometimes comes between assertive and aggressive, because it's about really what I think this is about open, direct, honest communication and respecting somebody else.
Yeah, it's great when you think about it. There's a continuum of types of communication. And we start, on the far side of the continuum is going to be passive. The middle of it is going to be assertive. And then the far side of it is going to be aggressive. And it's interesting to see where you normally fall, right? So how is it that you show up to share your thoughts, your opinions, your needs? And around what topics. So certain topics might cause somebody who is typically assertive to become passive, or somebody who is actually passive to become aggressive. So it depends on what's at stake. It depends on how important it is to the person who's actually communicating on where they're going to fall within the continuum.
Yeah, because, that just makes me think of, too, it's that, is it too high or too low, right? So being too low or too high impacts the way you're going to, interact with other people and really how they're going to perceive and respond to you. So too little assertiveness and it's going to appear like you don't have any confidence, and because you're not expressing your thoughts or your opinions, and too much. And people can say that, you might be a little bit too blunt or a little bit too aggressive. And what this makes me really think about is, so often, especially we work with organizations all over the world, and we have different conversations with people after meetings and with the individual coachings that our team does. But so often it's people leave a meeting and they're like, oh man, I should have said that. Right. So think about that. Did you ever leave a meeting and you're like, oh man, I didn't share my point of view. I didn't want to take on too much, or, I didn't want to say no. So I said yes to everybody, right? Do you kind of hold back your opinion? And what happens there is then you're probably skewing low on assertiveness. And on the other hand, when you leave a meeting and you realize that perhaps you put your foot in your mouth, or you're the first person that has to get their ideas out there, their opinions out there in this self-righteous kind of way. And sometimes people will tell you, hey, you know what? Ease up a little bit. You're too aggressive. That happens, you might be skewing a little high on assertiveness. So it's really important to figure out the balance.
I so agree. So maybe that's really an exercise here that there are our loyal listeners could, I just like saying that, our loyal listeners could actually do, right? So if you sort of just write down on a piece of paper and you have 3 columns, you have passive, you have assertive, and you have aggressive. Write down, thinking back over the last month, what topics would fit into each of those columns. See were you passive about? Maybe that where you didn't have a voice. Where did you state your opinion, your need, your thought clearly and with respect to the other person? And then the last one are, what are the things that you got assertive about? This also can go for internal chatter you have in your head. So it's not just about, an example would be, if you were passive with yourself, it could be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You didn't really want to work out or get any work done. You deserve a break. That might even be a little passive. Assertive is, you said you wanted to do this and now it's time to act on your word. And then aggressive to yourself could even be beating yourself up, really calling out the inner critic. But if you go ahead and write some of these things down, just notice, what did you think was at stake? How high was the risk? And what did you learn about yourself by either having a quiet voice, the right voice, I feel like Goldilocks, or an overdone voice? So these are fun.
Right.
These are fun things to think about as we explore this topic of assertiveness throughout the month. And that's just going to get you started until we get back with you next week.
Okay. And I'm trying to think now. I got so totally sidetracked because you said something about you deserve a break. And I'm hearing an old TV commercial in my head, but I can't think of what it is.
It's McDonald's.
Okay. Maybe that's it. You deserve a break today.
You've been going strong all day. Yeah, you deserve a break today at McDonald's.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast. Craving more in-depth discussions? Check out the Get Real Inner Circle with our no BS in-crowd of coaches.
Join live coaching discussions, breakdowns of coaching calls, and have some fun while you're at it.
You're going to want to go to kickstartyouredge.com/inner circle. It's time to get real.